For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates. This is Strat News Global. I'm Amitabh reporting in Kabul, and we have with us Amir Muttaqi. He's the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan's foreign minister. Muttaqi Sahab, Tashakkur, Manana, thank you so much for giving us time. I just wanted to ask you about India. For a year, there was no Indian presence here. We had left. हमारे जो diplomat हैं वो वापस चले गए थे. अभी जून से they have come back. There is slow movement. आपके अंदाजे में, what do you think has been the change in 1 year with India's involvement in Afghanistan?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Afghanistan and India have a very long history of relations. India is a great country in the region. Both countries have maintained political, economic, and business relations. India returning back to Afghanistan is a very good step. It facilitates transportation, people-to-people movement, and trade gradually. Aryana flights have begun flights to India. It's predicted that consular services will begin soon. So all of this is improvement and progress. We look forward to more assistance and more humanitarian aid from India as it has done before.
Muttaqi Sahab, as you said, humanitarian assistance that India has given, especially in times like this, whether it's wheat, which came either through Pakistan or from Chabahar, medical assistance, which has gone to the Indira Gandhi Hospital, COVID vaccines. How significant are all these for the Afghan people?
Afghanistan has gone through over 40 years of conflict and a lack of basic needs. We highly appreciate India's assistance of 50,000 tons of wheat, medical, and other humanitarian assistance. It has had a good impact on the lives of Afghans, especially Afghans who have economic problems. We look forward to the continuation of such assistance by India so Afghanistan can finally pave the way for its recovery, not be in need of help from others and be self-reliant.
Again, even when our diplomats were not here, we were sending aid, whether it was by flight or through the Wagah border in Pakistan. But now the diplomats are here in June. It's just been 2 months of engagement, formal engagement between India and Afghanistan. Where do you see it going in the future? What is your wish list in terms of how India-Afghanistan ties should progress?
Afghanistan now has a central responsible government over its entire territory, where everyone is held accountable to the center. Like we have good relations with the world, this engagement with India in terms of sending their diplomats, reopening the embassy, and raising the level of representation matters. From the diplomatic standpoint, it is very important and it works to deepen the relations between India and Afghanistan. You are sending diplomats to the Indian embassy and us sending diplomats to the Afghan embassy in India. This is the diplomatic engagement which will move us forward. This is progress and will advance engagement between India and Afghanistan to a much higher capacity now.
You're talking about Afghan diplomats in Delhi. They are already Afghan diplomats. Will you be sending diplomats from the Islamic Emirates to represent you? Has there been any talk between India and the Islamic Emirates about diplomatic movement?
The diplomats already present in India are diplomats of the state of Afghanistan. They have good coordination with the center, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They're progressing and talking about relations between India and Afghanistan. The embassy and the consulate both, but naturally diplomats have nations that end. In line with that, just as India makes changes, we look forward to the normalization of these exchanges. This is in line with the ending of nations and new diplomats maintaining our overall diplomatic relations.
Muttaqi Sahab, even I know for a fact that when our diplomats came back, we needed certain security assurances. We had certain concerns. Can you share with us what assurances have been given for the safety, say, of Indian diplomats or Indian interests?
We are very happy that for the last 12 months, since we have come to power, we have provided security to all diplomatic missions here in Afghanistan. They're working safely. There is not a single security incident that has been directed towards them. As a responsible government, we deem it our obligation to provide security to all diplomatic missions and diplomats who come to Kabul. But again, I emphasize and stress the security that we have provided. We are extremely proud of it, and we will continue providing good security assurances.
India has other concerns as well, and those have obviously been voiced with you in formal and informal talks, whether it's the fear of terrorist groups being trained in Afghanistan. There are certain reports, the UN reports, which suggest that the LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed are still trained here. How are you addressing India's concerns about terrorism from Afghanistan's borders?
It's very sad that such reports continue to crop up in social media circles, and mainly in Western media circles. We have always insisted and always asked for evidence. We have not been presented with a single instance of documented evidence about foreign fighters, training camps, or training centers having presence in certain areas of Afghanistan. Now that the borders are under our control, we have repeatedly asked for such information to cross-check and make sure whether they're true or not. This is the sad state of affairs when it comes to foreign circles, malicious circles that are trying to create differences between Afghanistan and other countries. You're here in Kabul. You're moving around and have seen that we have a very responsible, accountable, independent government, and we will not allow anyone to use Afghanistan against any other country.
So if India provides any actionable intelligence, you will do something about that?
Of course, any party, any actor is allowed to share information with us if such activities are indeed taking place. We have made a commitment earlier in the Doha Agreement and moving forward that we will not allow the territory of Afghanistan to be used against any other country. We remain committed to this pledge that we have made. Also, we do not want Afghanistan to be the playground of international powers. We have a balanced foreign policy, which is economic-centric. We want to move forward with countries, and we will not allow anyone to use the territory of Afghanistan against others.
You say Afghanistan will be balanced and will not be part of this great game that different countries are playing. The Islamic Emirates again says it's completely independent from any external influence. Are you completely independent from any influence or control of anybody? I mean, why I'm saying this, Muttaqi Saab, is 43 years plus there have been conflict. The Russians came, you've beaten them. You go back further, the British, of course. The Russians, the Americans have gone. They have not been able to control Afghanistan. But the Islamic Emirate insists it's independent. Are you completely independent from any external influence, especially, say, from your neighboring countries?
Afghanistan is a sovereign state and all its decisions are independent. God has created the people of Afghanistan with a mindset that they do not accept any foreign military forces, nor do they accept leaders in power. Who are under the influence of foreign powers. They're a proud and independent nation. Again, I'll repeat that the policy of the government of Afghanistan is balanced. It does not want to be a playground for great powers, and it is economic centric.
متوازن سیاست یو اقتصاد محور سیاست په مخ وړي او نه غواړي چې افغانستان
Afghanistan wants to transform into the crossroads of connectivity for this entire region.
په سیمه کې د وصل په نقطه بدل سي او افغانستان نه نور هیوادو ته خیر ورسیږي ترانزیت وده وکړي اقتصاد وده وکړي همدغه ښه ثبوت چې موږ اوس په سیمه کې ګاونډیو هیوادو سره
The proof is our good, balanced relations with Pakistan, India, China, Iran, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and other Arab countries.
د سیمې هیوادو له قزاقستان او قرغیزستان او روسیې او ترکیې او سعودي او نور عربي هیوادو په دې ټول سیمه کې موږ له هیچا سره ستونزه نه لرو د دې برکت
We have maintained a balance when it comes to these relations.
یو متوازن سیاست غوره کړی ده
The failed policies of former governments who were acting against each other have ended.
په مقابله کې په مخالفت کې فعالیت کاوه هغه سیاست او هغه کړنې نورې پای ته رسېدلې دي اوس افغانستان یو خپلواک هېواد ده خپلواکي حکومت ده خپلواکه اراده ده او په ټول افغانستان مسلط الحمدلله که چیرې اسلامي امارت د چا تر اثر لاندې راتلای
If Afghanistan was ever a space where world powers aimed at establishing influences, it was in the last 20 years. 50 nations came here with a lot of military, economic, and other incentives for Afghanistan to come under their influence. But the fact of the matter is that Afghanistan is an independent, sovereign state and its people are freedom-loving people, independent. The new government has the support of the public as we have suffered a lot. That's why such a large power, such armed forces were defeated in an 11-day span. This just attests to the fact that this government is free from all kinds of influence.
Since you talked about the US and NATO, what stage are relations with the US currently? I mean, there are reports suggesting that talks are suspended, that the unfreezing of the Afghanistan bank funds are not happening. Is that true? What is the current position between the Islamic Emirate and the US?
We have always maintained we seek positive diplomatic and economic relations with the US. A large part of the government and people of the US seek similar positive relations with the state of Afghanistan. However, there are some circles within the United States that have prejudices. They want to create a distance between us. But in our meetings, we have made a lot of progress. Our talks are continuing. Engagement is continuing, and we look forward to continuing that engagement.
او په راتلونکي کې هم امید لرو تر اوسه پورې موږ د دې تر مابین څخه خبرې نه دي بندې شوې او تماس سره لرو او وخت په وخت مجالس سره لرو نو په راتلونکي کې به هم همدې ته دوام ورکوو.
Muttaqi Sahab, like you said, Afghanistan is neither a playground for any of the big powers or regional powers or anybody for that matter, and the Islamic Emirate is playing a balancing role, not favoring any country. But with Russia, your ties have been improving. Even currently, there was a delegation that was talking trade with them and possibly even how does it work in terms of barter. Tell us a little bit more about relations with Russia, because it's interesting if you go back in time when the Soviet Union was considered an invader here, but now you have relations with Russia.
Our relations with Russia are progressing normally. They have their diplomatic missions open. At the same time, our delegation has gone to Moscow to talk about trade and business. And hopefully to reach agreements. Afghanistan is a country that imports a lot of commodities and has less exports. Discussions are continuing in Moscow, and we will work in a manner that is beneficial for Afghanistan, whether it's through barter or cash and financial transactions. What we are seeking is to bring in commodities to Afghanistan to fulfill the needs at a much lower cost than we are currently through importing those products.
Which is what exactly India is also doing the same in looking after its interests, economic interests. India had plans, say, in Hajikak, similar the Chinese had in Mesianak. Those didn't take off because of the security situation. Now, what is the relationship with the Chinese? I know there are some agreements in the petroleum industry or mining industry. Are the Chinese moving faster than any other country in the region in Afghanistan?
Yes, that's correct. Afghanistan has had contracts with different countries, which include China. We had a project for a contract with China in the Mes Aynak copper mine fields in Logar. The initial stages of that contract, the initial phase was done after the Chinese side sent delegations. We now believe security is prevalent. This type of work needs to be expedited and sped up. We also had an old contract with China for a gas field, and we have also begun the initial phases. They have sent delegations. They're beginning the initial phase and the implementation phase as well. There are also small contracts, talks about other contracts with the Chinese side, but nothing has been finalized. Overall, our outlook is that we are hoping for all countries to come with trade and investment. To that end, we're looking for foreign actors who are willing to come, keeping in mind their own interests as well as the interests of Afghanistan.
Muttaqi Sahab, the people of India and Afghanistan have contacts no matter who is in power in either of the countries. That's a bond that cannot be broken, whether it's food, whether it's culture. Of the last 10 years, it's been cricket and IPL. When I used to come here, even 5-6 years back, all Afghans knew Indian cricketers' names. Now, when I come to Afghanistan, all of India knows Afghanistan's cricketers' names. It's a beautiful bond that our two people have.
There is no doubt that the people of India and Afghanistan have had bonds and relations that predate a lot of other nations. especially in recent times when it comes to cricket.
په ډیرو برخو کې اړیکې لري.
These relations have improved. With the coming to power of the new Islamic Emirates government, cricket has been encouraged and it has improved dramatically.
ډېرې ښې لوبې وکړې، د نړۍ په سطح باندې ډېر ښه کردار ادا کو. نو همداسې له هندوستان
We look forward to Afghanistan cricket players going to India
باید نور نزدېکت راشي
and Indian players coming to Afghanistan.
کلاړیان لاړ شي هندوستان کې ولوبېږي او د هندوستان وال راشي کابل کې ولوبېږي.
And strengthening these relations, not just in cricket, in different areas where we share commonalities with India, we are looking to improve these bonds.
मुत्तकी साहब, मुझे पता है आप उर्दू मेरे से बेहतर बोलते हैं. अगर आपको कोई मैसेज देना हो उर्दू में.
افغانستان کا جو موجودہ حکومت ہے اس کا جو پالیسی ہے وہ متوازن اور اقتصاد محور پالیسی ہے، اور افغانستان یہ چاہتا ہے کہ آئندہ افغانستان اور قوتوں اور ممالک کے مقابلے کا میدان نہ ہو. افغانستان سب ممالک کے ساتھ اچھا روابط چاہتا ہے، اور امارت اسلامی افغانستان جو 20 سال امریکہ، ناٹو اور اس کے ساتھ 50 لگ بھگ اور ممالک تھے، اور یہاں پہ افغانستان میں بھی کے اندر بھی انہوں نے 4-5 لاکھ لوگ کو مسلح کر دیا. اس سب کے ساتھ انہوں نے جو لڑائی کیا وہ اس لیے کیا کہ افغانستان ایک آزاد اور خود مختار ملک بن جائے. الحمدللہ ابھی ویسے ہے. امارت اسلامی افغانستان جس کا قیادت اور سب جو کارکن ہے وہ سب آزاد لوگ ہیں. آپ نے ملک کے ساتھ اس کے قوی اور زیادہ محبت ہے، اور ہم نے جو وعدہ کیا ہے کہ افغان سرزمین کسی کے خلاف میں استعمال نہیں ہو سکتا ہے، ہم اسی وعدے پہ کڑا ہیں. اور ہمارا جو لوگ ہمارے یہ کمزور اردو پہ سمجھتا ہے، ہمارا سب کے لیے یہ پیغام ہے کہ وہ افغانستان کے حالات فیس بک کی نظر سے نہ دیکھے. افغانستان کے حالات یہ جو مغرض اور شرارت پسند لوگ ہیں، جو مغرضانہ تبلیغات کر رہے ہیں، جو سوشل میڈیا میں ہے یا عام میڈیا میں ہے، خصوصاً غربی میڈیا میں، اس کی نظر سے افغانستان کو نہیں دیکھنا چاہیے. افغانستان جیسا آپ نے افغانستان نزدیک سے دیکھا، ادھر امن و امان آپ نے دیکھا، اور موجودہ حکومت کے پالیسی آپ نے دیکھا کہ ادھر سب ممالک کے جو لوگ آتا ہے سب کے اکرام ہوتا ہے، سب کے ساتھ اچھا روابط ہے ہمارا. اور 12 مہینے گزشتہ میں ہزاروں خارجی اتباع جو افغانستان میں بشری امداد کے لیے آیا ہے یا سفارتوں میں آیا ہے، ایک واقعہ بھی سارے افغانستان میں پیش نہیں آیا ہے کہ کسی کو کچھ تھوڑا یا زیادہ تکلیف پہنچائے. تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ موجودہ حکومت یہ سارے ہمسایہ پڑوسی ممالک اور علاقے کے جو ممالک ہے سب کے ساتھ اچھا روابط رکھتا ہے، چاہتا ہے. اور یہ ہمارا پالیسی ہے، اور ہم نے عمل میں یہ ثابت کیا ہے کہ 12 مہینے گزشتہ میں کسی ایک ملک کے لیے کسی چھوٹا سا ضرر بھی نہیں پہنچتا ہے. تو اسی پالیسی کے مد نظر سارے لوگ، سارے دنیا، سارے ممالک ہمارے ساتھ متقابل احترام کے بنیاد پر اچھا روابط رکھنا چاہیے، کیونکہ ہمارا پالیسی یہ ہے کہ سب کے ساتھ اچھا روابط. اور ہم یہ چاہتا ہے کہ افغانستان چونکہ سنٹرل ایشیا اور جنوبی ایشیا کے درمیان وصل کا ایک نقطہ ہے، ہم یہ چاہتا ہے کہ افغانستان اسی سارے ملکوں کے لیے خیر رسان ہو، اور افغانستان ایک ٹرانزٹ کی ایک اچھا راستہ، سستا راستہ اور ہر نگاہ سے مفید ثابت ہوتا ہے، اور ہم اس پر خوش ہے کہ ابھی جنوبی ایشیا کے اجناس، اموال اور وہ ازبکستان، سنٹرل ایشیا تک پہنچے. حتیٰ ہندوستان کا بھی کچھ اجناس، کچھ تجارتی اموال وہ پاکستان کے راستے سے، افغانستان سے گزر کر اور ازبکستان تک پہنچ گیا. یہ میرے خیال میں علاقے کے لیے، علاقے کے اقتصاد کے لیے ایک بہت اچھا چانس ہے کہ 40 سال سے بعد افغانستان میں ایک مرکزی حکومت آیا، اور یہ حکومت ایسا حکومت کی کہ سارے افغانستان پر مسلط ہے. اور اس 12 گزشتہ مہینوں میں ہمارے مخالفین جو دشمنی کا ارادہ رکھتا تھا سب زور لگائے، لیکن سارے افغانستان میں ایک فٹ پر بھی کسی کے کو تسلط حاصل نہیں بغیر مرکزی حکومت اور اسلامی عمارت. اور جتنا ٹرانزٹ جاتا ہے مرکزی سنٹرل ایشیا اور جنوبی ایشیا کے درمیان، سینکڑوں گاڑی جا رہا ہے، آ رہا ہے، کسی کو کوئی تکلیف نہیں پہنچا. جتنا بیرونی اتباع افغانستان میں آیا ہے سب امن و امان کے ساتھ یہاں پہ کام بھی کر سکتا ہے، زندگی بھی کر سکتا ہے. کیونکہ ہم یہ چاہتا ہے کہ اس سے بعد افغان بیچارہ لوگ، مظلوم لوگ جو یہ 40 سال میں ایک بار سوویت یونین اور شوروی اتحاد کے ساتھ مشکلات میں دچار تھا، پھر نیٹو اور امریکہ نے یہاں پہ یرغل کیا، یہاں پہ تجاوز کیا، اس کے ساتھ اس لوگ کو تقریباً اسی 40 سال میں 20 لاکھ شہید دیا ہے، 20 لاکھ، اور لاکھوں لوگ زخمی ہوا ہے، بیوہ ہوا ہے، یتیم ہوا ہے، اور ہمارے 10 ملین لوگ مہاجر ہوا ہے، بیرون ملک گیا ہے. تو اس سے بعد افغانستان کا یہ لوگ، اس کا یہ حق بنتا ہے کہ علاقے کی ممالک بھی اس کے ساتھ ہمدردی کرے، اور جو موجودہ حکومت ہے وہ بھی زیادہ کوشش کرے کہ افغانستان اس سے بعد جنگ کے میدان نہ بن جائے. ہم امریکہ اور غرب میں بھی یہ پیغام دیا ہے کہ آپ نے جو فارمولے تھے، جو کچھ تجربے تھے، آپ نے سب کے سب میں ناکام ہوا ہے. جتنا بھی آپ نے فشار کے آپشنیں استعمال کیے، کوئی فائدہ نہیں دیا. سارے دنیا اس سے عاجز تھے کہ افغانستان میں امن آ جائے. ابھی امن و امان ہے. سارے دنیا کے ساتھ یہ طاقت نہیں تھا کہ افغانستان میں داعش کو کنٹرول کرے. موجودہ حکومت انہوں نے کنٹرول کیا. موجودہ حکومت 40 سال میں پہلا حکومت ہے کہ آپ نے سب مخالفین کو آپ اعلان کیا. ابھی ہمارے مخالفین بھی ادھر زندگی کر سکتا ہے. حتیٰ حکومت میں ہے تقریباً 5 لاکھ لوگ جو سابق حکومت میں تھے وہ ابھی ہمارے ساتھ کام کرتا ہے. مطلب میرا اس وضاحت سے یہ ہے کہ یہ ایک چانس ہے، ایک بہترین فرصت ہے، اور سارے لوگ خصوصاً ہندوستان کے لوگ اس کو یہ یہ ہونا چاہیے کہ وہ افغانستان کے حالات آپ کے آنکھوں سے دیکھے اور میڈیا سے نہ دیکھے، ہمارے دشمنوں کے منہ سے نہ سنے. تو یہ ہمارا پیغام تھا. خدا کرے کہ سب لوگوں تک پہنچ جائے.
متقی صاحب، آپ نے یہ انٹرویو پورا ہی اردو میں کرنا تھا.
میرے خیال میں اردو اتنا اچھا نہیں تھا.
کیا بات کر رہے ہیں آپ. متقی صاحب، تشکر، منانا. Thank you so much for your time.
منانا، شکران.
And for all our viewers, do give us feedback on this interview and all the other interviews and the coverage that we are giving you from Kabul in Afghanistan. This is Amitabh Revi for Strat News Global in Kabul with Rohit Pandita.